In this video today, I'm going to speak about why you should work on your weaknesses like Frank Lampard. So what are you going to learn from Frank Lampard today? Well, firstly, I'm going to speak about how he became so successful. And secondly, with his mindset, how can you become a better graduate with more money and success? I've done similar videos already on Jadon Sancho and Steven Gerrard. If you click on subscribe, you can keep up to date with the latest content. So for me, of my age, I can remember Frank Lampard being a West Ham player as a teenager. I was lucky to see him live a couple of times. And my memories of Frank Lampard as a kid were, well, his dad was a coach at the club, Frank Lampard Sr., and his uncle, Harry Redknapp, was a manager. Some fans felt he was in the team because of that family link. Secondly, as a young player, Lampard lacked pace. He lacked a bit of end product, and this was a very difficult time for him because fans would get on his back. Some fans verbally abused him, even though he's one of their own players, and fans doubted his ability. No more than one fan on a YouTube video that you can see here. The fan speaks to Harry Redknapp at a forum and says, he's not good enough. Why is Lampard in the team? We've got other young lads that should be ahead of him. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, but this fan must feel pretty silly now. But what made Frank Lampard so different? And I'll give you a quotation from his uncle and his previous manager at West Ham, Harry Redknapp. He speaks about the work ethic that Lampard had. He said, "I've never seen anybody train like Frank Lampard. He was a completely different level to anyone I've come across or worked with. I've never seen anyone come close." And one thing about his work ethic was he worked on his weaknesses. So as a teenager, when he was getting abused from his own fans, he worked on those weaknesses and spent the time improving them. Again, a quotation from Redknapp. He'd be out in the training ground on an afternoon, 2 hours after everyone else had gone home, practicing, getting his spikes on, shooting, in and out the cones, practice, getting fitter. So to break that down, he's got the running spikes on, 2 hours after training, working on his short burst of acceleration, and he's also focusing on his finishing as well. What was Frank Lampard known for in his career, the peak of his powers? It was goals. It was his movement. It was getting into space, scoring goals, both feet, all sorts of ranges. And we all know he scored a lot of goals as well. Premier League and the top 5 goal scorers, England 29 goals and 23 goals in the Champions League. Frank Lampard was also a role model, even from a young age. His mindset really rubbed off on the other really good young players West Ham had. Again, a quotation from Harry Redknapp. He wanted to practice, and it rubbed off on the group, with Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, Glenn Johnson, Jermaine Defoe. I always saw Frank up their training and the work ethic, and he set the bar so high. And one final quote from Harry Redknapp here, when asked, well, what advice, based on Frank Lampard, would you give to young players? Be the last one off the training ground. Go and work on your weaknesses, and extra time will pay off in the end. Now, this has been all about Frank Lampard. How does this relate to you as a student? We all have our own individual goals as graduates, but generally speaking, most graduates, they want money. We all want money, really, deep down. We want a nice home. We want a nice car. We want a family life where we settle down. And in reality, this doesn't happen so successfully for everybody. There's all sorts of different factors why people are successful and unsuccessful, but one of them really is just working hard, earning it. You can be in the right place, right time, and all sorts of stuff like luck, but hard work will prevail. Hard work prevailed for Frank Lampard. He had an exceptional career. It was no fluke. It was no accident. He had the prolonged career that he did. And for you as a graduate, it won't be an accident if you work hard and put the time in. My advice to you would be acknowledge your weaknesses. Spend the extra time working on them. Your schedule could be 9 till 4, 9 till 5. I wouldn't like to promote burnout, but the extra half an hour a day, an hour a day, it will pay off in the long run. And set your bar high as well. Work harder than everyone else around you. Because that's what Frank Lampard did. He acknowledged at a young age his weaknesses. They became his strengths because he stayed back after training and he set a high standard for himself, but those around him as well. So as a task, what I recommend you do, firstly, find a job advert in your area of interest. So what do you plan to do? Go and look at the advert. Highlight the areas where you're strong. I don't want to create a video where I'm just pointing fingers and saying, look at all your weaknesses. Be confident. Think about the things that you're good at. But be a realist as well. Identify your weak points and put a plan together to work on that. So once you've done that, think about it. After looking at a job advert, what are your weaknesses? Some common ones might be lack of experience, maybe presentation skills. There could be certain software you need to use within the job and you don't know how to use it. Or in other roles, you might need loads of scientific knowledge to apply to the role. You might not have that yet. That's fine. You need to work on it. Because as a graduate, if you want all these things, you need to work on your weaknesses. And you also need to work harder than those around you in your class and other universities around the country. And that sort of mindset that Frank Lampard had, if that can rub off on you, you'll go a long way. Okay, so that was my short video on working on your weaknesses like Frank Lampard. If you'd like to see similar content, please subscribe to the channel and also get in touch with me on Instagram as well at Sports Science Hacks. Okay, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.